from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. Tune in to Ground Zero on UBC Radio. We discuss politics.
The money we collect as taxes in the country, we lose it in corruption.
Economics.
The four economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT.
Education.
The classes which will not need an abridged curriculum are the entry-level classes of P1, Senior 1, and Senior 5.
Culture and religion. And other areas of human interest. Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio. Don't miss. Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns. UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
Independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Luganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bududi FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Totore Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you're covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
This is independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Luganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bududi FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Totore Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you covered in your local language.
UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Hello dear listener, you're most welcome to UBC Ground Zero. We are broadcasting live on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. We are live on UBC Radio on 98 FM if you're in Kampala. We are 97.4 FM in Arua. We are 99.4 FM in Lila. And we're also connected to another radio stations, UBC Utebo on 96.9 FM in Bale. We are also on 98.4 FM in Soroti and 95.5 FM in Arua. We're also live and clear on UBC Western Isle, covering Western Isle, Karamoja sub-region, Teso sub-region, Acholi and Lango sub-regions. We're also live and clear on Magic 100 FM, covering central parts of this country. Ampaire Amon Obtega is my name, and I must welcome you to this edition of UBC Ground Zero. We're also streaming live on YouTube. You just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of this conversation. Today, we are having a very special conversation that is concerning what we do, what we go through every day, especially at our workplaces, the working environment that all of us experience every other morning, every other noon, and every other day. So it is very important that we discuss issues that concern our lives, because it is our obligation and our duty to make sure that we take a direction that will drive this country to a better future. I've been joined by a special team of guests who are going to help us discuss national issues, things of importance to this country, but also we're going to address people's concerns. I've been joined by the members and the team from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And we're going to be talking about a safe and healthy working environment as a fundamental principle and right at work. All of us have a right to work, but also we have our own rights that need to be observed and protected. Many people are facing so many challenges and they're dying in silence. We come here today to address some of those challenges. Actually, if you opened our lines today and people were told to mention what they go through at the workplaces, would be so much surprised. But we tell you, do not suffer in silence, because there are different platforms, there are different measures that you can take, and the ministry is here to help, and other institutions and individuals. I've been joined by Engineer Evelyn Katsabe, is the Principal Specialized Safety and Inspector from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Most welcome, Katsabe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
I also have Ismail Kalanda is the Principal Labor Officer from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. You're most welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Moderator.
And you're welcome, listeners.
Interesting. I have also Basilu Baki. You will help me pronounce that name very well. Dalton is also an occupation hygienist and chemist from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Most welcome to UBC Ground Zero.
Oh, thank you, Amon. My name is Dalton Bachsura.
Bachsura.
Yes.
Interesting. Thank you for helping me. Most welcome to UBC Ground Zero. And we are also going to discuss a safe and a health working environment as a fundamental right, fundamental principle, and the right at work. As I said before, many are suffering really in silence, and we really need to bring that to light. And we're here to help. Those who have issues at work, please do not suffer alone, because the government and different institutions, especially, I like what civil society is doing to have brought such issues at in the limelight, but also individuals. That's why we have leaders. That's why we have all the measures, and the Constitution helps us to address all these challenges. So there is no reason as to why you should keep dying in silence. And someone says many times, and many friends have always shared a number of issues they go through, and some of them are really touching. There are so many working people with work-related injuries and illness in Uganda, and the cost of workplace injuries and illness to the business is becoming so high. We sick days, which sometimes slows down the production, and when you don't work, sometimes fines are being distributed, especially for the poor health and safety processes. A number of people, about 1,000 Ugandans, are suffering in silence because of what they go through. I've been joined by this team that I have just introduced, and they will help us understand all this in details. But before we go into the details of occupational safety and health, what it means and when it did start, and some of us don't know our rights at work, we are treated the way we are treated because we don't know the law. As the Bible says that my people perish because they lack knowledge, and sometimes people are suffering not knowing that they have a right to complain, not knowing that they have a right to protect themselves or to raise their issues. Let me start with you, Engineer Katsabe. What do you do at the ministry, and what does your office or department do to help the people of Uganda according to our topic today? Most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Amon. Eva Katsabe, like I said before, is my name, and I work as a principal specialized safety inspector with the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. It is under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. As the ministry, we are concerned about so many categories of people in society. As a matter of fact, I think we are concerned with everyone in Uganda because children are under our jurisdiction, youth, women, elderly or older persons, people with disabilities, and workers. All those are our stakeholders whom we take care of in terms of their interests. Particularly, the department which I represent today, Occupational Safety and Health, is concerned about workers, the safety of workers, and the measures that are put in place to protect them, their health, and their general well-being. So my role, particularly as a principal specialized safety inspector in charge of construction, is to make sure that the workers, particularly those in the construction sector, that they are safe, they are not maimed in the course of doing their work, and those that are unfortunately harmed are compensated following the due processes. Briefly, that is what I would like to say about what I do.
Interesting. And Dalton, how have you helped the people of Uganda using your office or the platform that you have?
Okay, thank you, Amon. Like you introduced me, I'm an occupational hygienist, chemist in particular, and at the department, we've got a section, a hygiene section, and here we do several activities in as far as protecting the workers at their workstations or workplaces. And amongst that is to ensure that the exposures can be chemical, physical, biological to these workers are within the permissible limits. So this eventually reduces on the risk that associated with these hazards.
Oh, interesting. Ismail?
Yes, thank you, Aman.
Like you introduced me, I'm Kalanda Isma Buyego. I'm a principal labor officer and in charge of inspections. My key role is to inspect workplaces and assess and enforce them for compliance to labor rights and standards. Yeah, generally, as the labor department, we look at a wide range of labor standards, including the occupational safety and health standards. Yes.
Interesting. You must know that as inspectors, going through a number of institutions or companies or different working places or environments, what are some of the serious challenges that you have encountered, that you have realized? What are some of the serious concerns or issues that people at their workplaces are raising?
Okay, most pertinent of the issues generally, the enforcement of labor rights in Uganda is still a very big concern. And first of all, one of the key issues that is really perturbing us is having no minimum wage. Most of these workers, the salaries or the wages that they pay them are inadequate. And however, we can hardly enforce that since the minimum wage bill has not yet been, it has not been approved. So in case it becomes an act to enable us to enforce it. Then secondly, there are other issues of high levels of casualization. Most of these unskilled workers, especially in the construction industry, in the big factories, many of them work on a daily basis and they are kept on casual basis, and this denies them a lot of their rights. You find it's very hard for them to access NSSF. It's very hard for them to accumulate experience which they can use to maybe to seek for better employment somewhere else. The casualization, though it is illegal in our regulations, but it is it is very rampant. There are also many wide range of issues, and the biggest problem, or one of the problem, is that most of these employers, I think some of them are not aware of the laws, some of them are not willing to enforce them. However, even the employees, many of them are not aware of their rights. We still have a big duty to sensitize them, and they get to know their rights. They know when you get a problem, where can you get redress, who is the labor officer concerned in your area. And you find them like some get accidents. They don't know the procedure you are supposed to go through to get compensation, and sometimes the employers just get anything. They can give them anything, and since this person is really in pain, they are under a lot of immense suffering, you find that they can take anything that they are given. But however, there are very clear processes of how you treat and how you compensate people who have got into occupational accidents. Other issues, the safety wear. Find some of the workers working in hazardous environments, exposed to a lot of toxic chemicals in the environment. We've been inspecting some of these workplaces, and one of the issues is that even the workers themselves, some of them are not willing to adhere to the safety precautions. For example, some don't want to wear helmets. They say when they wear masks, they cannot breathe well. Yet you find the environment intoxicated when they really need to protect themselves, and they'll just tell you, when we put on these masks, we can't breathe well. So sometimes we are also challenged. And another big issue is that few pay NSSF, the NSSF remittances. It is mainly these professional staff who are paid where NSSF is remitted. Mainly the low-level unskilled workers don't get NSSF, and you can't imagine. You find even these big companies, big projects, of which we have inspected, of the big companies, and you find NSSF is not remitted, which is really unfair. Yeah, there are so many others, like annual leave are not given, and others, as we shall expound on as we move.
Interesting. At least we have known what are some of the challenging issues that our employees are really facing. Katsabe, you must have been active in this, but why are people still suffering? And why is it difficult that people, especially the employers, have failed to comply with the requirements of Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2006 and international best practice of relation to safety and health? Do they do it because it affects them, or they are going to pay a lot of money, or they don't know even this act and we have not taken the initiative to teach the people about this very act?
All right. In response to that one, I would like to add on to what Mr. Kalanda has said, because essentially what he ran us through is the challenges, but also partly they explain why employers are not doing what they are supposed to do. Because in the circumstance that the employer is ignorant of the legal requirement of the law, he or she will not do what he's supposed to do as prescribed under the Occupational Safety and Health Act. So that element of ignorance is something that we have been grappling with for years. I know government has done what we can do in terms of sensitization, but I guess it's a drop in the ocean because of limited resources, not being able to reach all the people that we should reach, the employers. So some still remain ignorant of the legal requirements. However, those who are aware of what they are supposed to do but are stubbornly not putting in place the necessary measures, it's because they view health and safety as a cost. They feel if I buy protectives for my workers, if I invest in training them and they are aware of what they are supposed to do, it will reduce on my profits or take away from my capital. And yet, in fact, we would like people to start thinking of health and safety as an investment, because when your workers, when your business is thriving in terms of people being safe and they're at their best in terms of productivity, your business eventually profits. So we see that health and safety should be viewed as an investment, not a cost to the employer. Another reason I believe that employers have not been doing what they should do is, well, our law, which we are currently reviewing, has penalties prescribed in there, but the penalties have been quite low. So I guess the employers have been looking at it and saying, well, instead of spending money buying this and putting in place the other, I will wait. If they take me to court, I'll pay this penalty, because it is viewed as a very minimal, negligent. But in trying to review the law now, we hope that we can step up these penalties so that they are biting, so to speak, and the employer will be deterred from non-compliance. We've also, as a government, faced challenges of enforcement, because we have nice provisions in the law. The employers are supposed to put in place measures and they are clearly prescribed. But because we've not enforced as hard as we should, because of resources again, we are few inspectors expected to reach all parts of the country. Sometimes government, the money is not enough for us to be able to do all that we are supposed to do. So enforcement has been kind of lacking, although we have done what we can do within the available resources. And then finally, maybe what I can say is it is assumed out there that health and safety is the function of government. So many times you will hear people saying, government tainache, because the government has done nothing for us. And yet, in fact, health and safety is everybody's responsibility. It starts with the individual at the workplace, whether you are a worker, whether you are an employer, right up to government. All of us have a role to play in health and safety. So if everyone was doing their part, a worker trying to make sure they are working safely, requesting for what they need to do the work safely, the employer providing what the worker needs, government regulating and enforcing, I think we would have a better situation. But as of now, it seems not to be working. Briefly, that's what I think I can say about what's going on.
Interesting. Dalton, you are coming from the hygiene point of view, or from the side. How can we ensure a safe working environment through engagements of minimum safety and health risks to minimize risk, especially related to health?
Okay. Okay. There's a lot that has been discussed with my colleagues in as far as that line is concerned.
From the person, not the employers, now we are looking at the employees.
Yes. You see, the Act provides for the rights for the workers. The workers themselves have their individual rights, and amongst them is a right to be, workers have a right to be protected by the workers have a right to be protected by the employers. They have to be taken care of. So the employer has a right to provide all these other equipment that minimize exposure for workers.
In case I'm not given those equipments, how best can I protect myself as a worker to ensure that, because it is my life first?
Yes. So in case you're not given these, then you have, again, it is your right not to do any activity that you see that it risks your life. In whatever you're going to do, you consider safety first. If you detect a situation that is unsafe, then a worker has a right not to proceed with such an activity. And he also has a right not to be penalized by the employer. So in case an employer chooses to penalize, then that is enforceable, and we can come in to advise. Then workers, we urge workers to be proactive. So these workers should actually should be in position to suggest alternative, safe working mechanisms to ensure that their safety actually is prioritized in whatever they do. Workers also have a right to protect their fellow workers while executing their tasks. You see, when we are in operations, maybe in factories or somewhere else, we work in teams, we work with colleagues. So as one executes his or her tasks, you ensure that your neighbor is actually as well safe.
Hey, please.
I would like to supplement what my colleague has said. So with the practical examples, I will give the example of a construction site. I have been to sites where you find men, the workers, actually engaging in what we call horseplay. They are joking around, and they maybe in the course they are running from each other, probably, I don't know what it is, but in the course of horseplay, you might step on a nail or you might fall off an edge to your death. So the worker has an obligation to take care of themselves in the sense that you do the right thing at the right time. So don't engage, for example, in horseplay. But also in a factory where you have, say, running equipment, rotating parts of equipment, it would be irresponsible of me as a worker to have my braids hanging loose, because they can easily be trapped into the machine. So I have a right, but also an obligation to take care of myself, make sure that my hair cannot get trapped into the machine or something like that. So I just thought I would give practical examples of how a worker can protect themselves, in addition to what Dalton said about stepping away from dangerous operations.
Indeed, you're right. Isma, our people perish because they lack knowledge. Whose responsibility to ensure that our workers are well informed of the real and potential dangers associated with their work? Is it the employer? Is it you, the government? Whose responsibility?
Yeah, actually, that responsibility is it is the responsibility of all of us, the government, the employers, even the workers themselves, because in the modern world everyone has to seek knowledge. And whenever I go to such places, I always ask people that before you begin any task, even you in your office where I sit, you always have to seek knowledge and know all the issues around that rotate around your work you do. So I always encourage even the workers always to know their rights, always to seek knowledge. However, the primary duty, first of all, is to us as government to sensitize the workers, to sensitize the employers, and as of now, I remember even cabinet directed us as the ministry to come up with a document or a guide, and we are already coming up with a guide that we are going to work with the Uganda Investment Authority, such that we whoever investor comes into the country, if you have that guide that will always explain all the employment and labor laws that we have in the country, such that we close the gap of these people saying that they don't know the law. Secondly, like we do, we always go to radios, we try to sensitize the people. Then thirdly, even the employer's task is mainly played in their policies. They are supposed to come up with a comprehensive human resource policies where the issues of sexual harassment, the issues of HIV/AIDS at the workplace are all within the policy. And this policy is supposed to be comprehensive, having all the areas that concern the employment of the workers, and in the employment of the workers, the processes of recruitment, processes of termination, when someone is supposed to get annual leave, what are their policies on maternity leave. It is supposed to cover all the areas of the labor standards. And whenever we go to these workplaces, these are some of the areas we inspect, whether the workplaces have these policies, and whether the workers are aware of these policies. Because at the end of the day, when the employer has the policies, but when the workers or the consumers of those policies are not aware of them, then they are as good as not being in existence. So we ensure that these policies are also known to the workers. It is one way of sensitizing them. Then another method we use is we have the method of social dialogue, where we have the partners, the employers have the Federation of Uganda Employers, and the workers also have the unions. We have the two umbrella organizations of NOTU and the COFTU. These ones foster what we call social dialogue, and through social dialogue, this is where the workers and the employers come together, they negotiate, and they agree on key pertinent issues that concern their rights. And at the end of the day, after the negotiations, they are supposed to come up with what we call agreements. They come up with agreements, and these agreements are binding. The agreements are binding to all parties, and in these agreements, there are comprehensive agreements on their rights. The issue is they take time with guidance, they negotiate everything on their rights, they document them, they agree, they sign, the ministry registers these agreements, and at the end of the day, the agreements are enforceable even in court. So these are some of the ways that we use in order to make sure that the workers, first of all, can get aware of their rights, and they can put them in practice, and they can enforce them.
All right. Akatsabe, when you visit and inspect these institutions or companies or different workplaces, one, what are your first targets, as you mentioned before, but what do you do to those companies that don't observe the suitable standard operating procedures for their respective working environments? What do you do to them?
Okay. As part of inspection, first of all, we we look out for the documentation that is in place in terms of what procedures, are there policies like the ones Mr. Kalanda has talked about, policies in place to guide health and safety action. Are there structures? Have people been employed, like someone in charge of health and safety? That will be first the starting point. We want to first understand the administrative measures that have been put in place in that workplace. Has risk assessment been done to understand the process at the workplace and the hazards that are arising out of the process in that workplace? Thereafter, we walk around and observe, see how work is being done, see any gaps, if any, things which are being done well. We are not blind to the fact that there are some workplaces which are doing things right. So having observed and having seen the documents in place, we engage with the employers. The starting point is sort of dialogue to make sure that we tell them what gaps we've observed and what needs to be done. It's a step-by-step engagement. So having documented what we have observed through a report and shared the report with them, we have recommendations in that report, put in place this, do the other. So we give them a time frame in which to act upon the recommendations. The time varies depending on what it is we are telling them to put in place. Some require finances, some require time. So when that time elapses, we do a follow-up inspection to see whether they have improved. Having given them reminders a number of times, there are those who will still stay stubborn or adamant about putting in place the recommended measures. That is when we take it to the next level, where we are required to put them to the prosecution arm, where they are taken to court, and the course of the law the law takes its course. However, if you find something in the workplace that is causing what we call imminent danger, like you see people might die because of this non-compliance, someone might get injured because of the certain something you have observed in the workplace, we as inspectors have the right to close that workplace until corrective measures are done. So basing on the inspector's judgment, we will close the workplace and require the employer to put in place the corrective measure or stop the work until the right thing is being done. So those are the different ways. You can take the course of advice, then prosecution, or if it is imminent danger, it is immediate closure and correct before we reopen and continue. Maybe what I need to clarify also is the fact that sometimes you close an operation without closing the whole workplace. Like we go to a workplace, they have maybe, let me give the example again of a construction site. They are probably mixing concrete in another place, or they are using a crane on one side. So if you see that probably the crane is posing danger, I can close just the operations around the crane. I tell them stop using this crane until it's inspected, until it is certified and all that. But other works on the site may continue. So someone may not know that you have stopped work, but you have instructed that some operation is stopped until corrective action is taken. I hope I'm clear on that one.
Yeah, you are indeed very clear. Have you had issues of work or sex for work? Is it work for sex? We sometime back then had issues of sex for marks, but it seems it has graduated to our at our working places. What did you help the youth especially? What did you advise them for those who have had such issues and challenges at their workplaces because of someone needs a job, wants to make ends meet, is unemployed for 2 years, and before he wants to secure a job, the boss says, you know what, we are going to meet in a hotel in that we can solve your matter. Have you had such cases, and how have you helped such individuals? Let me start with you, a lady, because it is so much into the female gender that have faced this challenge.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would say something, but I would also request Mr. Kalanda, since he's in the department that is directly in charge of this issue, to address it. Yes, this is not something that we can deny. Issues of sexual harassment are real, and people out there are suffering them. Although I also need to clarify that it's not just the female people who are suffering. There are even young men, men who are also exposed to issues of sexual harassment. So indeed, we have had people who have reported to us, but the challenge remains with the procedures that are followed and to be able to prove and then investigate this issue. Many have reported to us, but they do not want you to take the case forward because they end up probably losing the job and all. But we have had people come to us and they have actually reported that they have been harassed sexually, whether it is physical or verbal or cyber on the phones. It is happening in the workplace. But I will request Mr. Kalanda also to elaborate on what the legal procedure is.
Yeah, actually, this is it is illegal to practice what we can call sexual harassment at the workplace, and I think it's Section 7 of the Employment Act is really very clear, and one of the preventive measures we put in place is we ensure that every workplace has a sexual harassment policy. Yeah, we are very strict on that, and in case there is a sexual harassment case registered at workplace, we first look at the sexual harassment policy, whether it is in place and whether it is really disseminated to the employers. And when such cases have been reported to us, we have conducted investigations. However, like she said, these are very complicated also matters to investigate. And in most cases, in some cases, we hand them over to police because to do the forensics and other issues, we normally leave them to the police. And as the ministry, we normally handle the administrative part of it. The medical and the criminal parts are handled by other stakeholders. However, it is very rampant, and we discourage it, and it is also very complicated because you find some of the cases there is some kind of consent, although with coercion, and very few people report these cases. Very few of the employees report these cases because, like she said, they fear to lose their jobs. And some of them accept it because they need the jobs, and it is something that is highly concealed, and you can very few cases can really come out and get reported. So those that reported, we have a comprehensive legal framework that guides us on how to manage them, and the ones that we can investigate them. However, like our labor officers and labor officers are not comprehensively facilitated both financial and technically to handle these investigations. So we normally do the administrative part of it because our policies only give us a leeway in these areas of administration, but the criminal and the other forensic audits, we leave them to the institutions that are mandated to do that.
Interesting. This is UBC Ground Zero. We are discussing a safe and healthy working environment and as a fundamental principle and right at work. You have every right and chance to report any issue that you really take it as a serious concern, especially if you are meeting it at work. And the ministry is here to help you, and the different institutions, especially police and other civil society organizations, can help, and even our local leaders. Please, you can always utilize them. This is UBC Ground Zero, and we take a very short break, and we're coming back in a bit, and we'll continue with this discussion. And later on, after this break, you can raise us on 776-511-426, and you tell us what you really think needs to be done to change the environment at the workplace, what needs to be done to ensure that everyone works very better and feels comfortable while they are working from. 776-511-426. Or if you want to send a message, you can use 0701 24 26 47. We're going for a short break and we're coming back in a bit. This is UBC Ground Zero.
Tune in Ground Zero on UBC Radio. We discuss politics.
The money we collect as taxes in the country, we lose it in corruption.
Economics.
The four economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT.
Education.
The classes which will not need an abridged curriculum are the entry-level classes of P1, Senior 1, and Senior 5.
Culture and religion. And other areas of human interest. Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio. Don't miss. Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butembo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
This is Independent Sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Luganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butembo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Buduli FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in covered in your local language.
UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butembo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize with the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health. Entertainment. Updates in education. On the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
This is Ground Zero live on UBC Radio. Stay tuned.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero. We are live on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda, border to border and city to city. And in the studios of UBC, I have a very special team of guests who are coming from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Engineer Evelyn Katsabe is the Principal Specialized Safety Inspector, and Bas Bakisula. Dalton is the occupational hygienist or chemist from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and also Ismail Kalanda is also the principal labor officer from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Ampaire Amonobtega is my name, and we're discussing a safe, health working environment as a fundamental principle and a right at work. 776-511-426 is the number that you're going to call and share your views or concerns about things that you face or the issues that you face at your workplaces, or send your messages on 701-24-26-47. Before I went to for that break, I wanted to ask Dalton about the myth and realities at work. There are people who think there are things that we're supposed to have, but in actual sense it is a myth, it is not a reality. Someone told me that to man some heavy machines you need to be taking about 2-3 liters of milk per day. Is this a myth or a reality? You have dealt with, I believe, coming from the chemist side, chemistry. How is this related to our health? How true is this or a myth? Dalton?
Okay. Surely there's a lot of myths that surround around various workplaces. In a bid to execute several kind of tasks. However, what we say as the department, we have issued several guidelines on how to help workers, because a worker actually to execute his task. Now, like you pointed out, these machines, machine operators, the ones that actually do production, when you go to production facilities, they just require actually good working conditions. If the area surrounding them, if the ventilation is okay, if the feeding is okay, if the time lag, the time that they spend while doing their tasks, if they are not overworked actually, then there's no need of such. Because where the line you're taking me, some people even say that you need to take some drugs to boost your body, to do whatever, but all this is myth. If the surrounding environment is okay, if you're working under the required means or what we advise, then there is nothing that blocks you from achieving your targets. Then milk is in particular, you stated milk is food, and it has a contribution to one's nutrition or immunity. So we would advise, yes, these are some of the things that we advise companies to provide to their workers: milk, fruits, delicious food. Don't feed people on leftover.
I can imagine how many companies would provide fruits and milk to the employees.
We have seen them. They are there, especially chemical.
Here in Uganda.
Yes, especially chemical facilities.
Okay.
They do.
Oh, interesting. I'm glad to know that. Okay. Kalanda, we are discussing fundamental rights. Is it a right that I have, someone sends a message, is Jacob for listening in from Entebbe, and says, is it a right to demand at work, or when my employer provides it, I should take it as a privilege?
Yeah, of course the law
Should we demand these things because we are entitled to them as our fundamental rights, or we should be glad and celebrating if an employer chooses to provide?
Yeah, I need to be better clear. Is it the right for you getting a job, or the right to be given work while on job? I didn't understand that well, because ideally if someone gives you a job, the employer, the law says that it will be the work of the employer even to give you work. If the employer cannot give you work, it does not.
It is their right.
Yeah, of course it is right. The employee has to be given work and even working tools. So if I have a contract with a company and the employer does not give me work, does not give me working tools, it does not justify for me not to get paid. Because it is you employed me to give me work. And not only work is to give me working tools and create for me a conducive working environment. So if I fail to work, but when the reason why I'm failing is because of failure on part of the employer, then I actually, when we are mediating or adjudicating some of these cases, those are some of the areas where we look at where where the weakness on the side where the weakness was. So at the end of the day, it is the employer's role to provide work. It is also well provided for in the Employment Act.
Okay. Opio says that many Ugandans are suffering in silence and in your hands as government. It seems you are not really supervising and inspecting as per se. Because if you did, would have had companies penalized for mistreating our workers. Okay. Katsabe, what do you have to tell Opio?
Mr. Opio,
Ugandans are suffering in your hands as if you are not doing inspection.
Mr. Opio, I really feel your pain, and I'm sure you represent many other Ugandans out there who are frustrated with what is happening in the workplace. Government is doing what it can do, but I am sure we could do better, but we have reasons why we are not doing the best that we can be doing. A good starting point would be to say the International Labour Organization has a certain prescription on the number of inspectors vis-a-vis the number of workers or workplaces that they are supposed to be inspecting. And as a country, we are way, way below that ratio that is recommended. Reason being, the number of inspectors in the department and in the ministry in general is less than 50. And yet the workplaces that we have in the country are over 1 million, so to speak. And out of those 1 million, they are supposed to be registered with the department so that we can plan how to reach out with our interventions. However, out of these approximately 1 million workplaces, as a department, we have a database of just about 5,000 workplaces that have registered with us. So these are the ones that we can say, okay, there is this workplace in Koboko, there is this workplace in Kisoro, so let's plan this quarter, we shall go to Kisoro, we shall cover 10 workplaces and all that. But imagine if there are only 5,000 on our database, we are only 40 or so inspectors. So just figure how the impact will be felt in the whole country. It is quite minimal. So yes, we have not done all that we should do as government, but it is a combined failure on the part of government, but also the employers in notifying us where they are located so that we plan to reach them, and so that we can reach our services also to the public. But also the sensitization that we have done probably has not reached everyone, which is why we must appreciate UBC for this opportunity.
Okay.
Hopefully we are reaching more people today.
UBC?
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you. You're live and clear on UBC.
Yeah, you're talking to Justin Edema from Kololo. Thank you for the program.
Your name again?
I'm Justin Edema from Kololo. I'm so happy and glad that you have brought this guy from Ministry of Labor. I've opened our eyes a bit, but I think we do suffer sometimes silently. I and my colleagues need to be good about the law or our rights. But also the problem is we find that they have not created for us like this little line whereby you can report, because someone in the village will not even know where the labor office is, or even this one small in the district, we don't know about it. So I think the best way they need to create for us this street line whereby we can report any incident, and also they also need to supervise regularly, because they can come, then while the employer has put everything in the place, then after that you find the employee also violated what is put in the place. That's how we suffered, and because they are not supervising it regular, you find that we are going through a lot of pain. And sometimes because we take the risk, because we don't have the money and we need the money, we don't have a job. That's why we take the risk like that. So we suffered it silently like that. And also, I think most of my prayer is they need to take this issue of NSSF serious, because we realize that some of the companies are not remitting the NSSF. Yet you agree they're supposed to remit your NSSF, whatever worked for it. They deduct it, but they don't remit it. And you go to the labor, you even get stuck where to be helped. And sometimes these people have the money, I think that this of bribe, they grab, whereby you go there, you don't have money, you get stuck. At the end, you give up because you disturb yourself, you go to the office, again tomorrow, come tomorrow. So, sure, they need to help us a lot, they need to do a lot. What they're doing, we also appreciate the little they have done, but we need more to be safe, surely, in Uganda.
All right.
Thank you for the program.
I most welcome, sir. 776-511-426, and you raise your concern to be addressed today in our program. Catherine, listening in from Bade, says, are you aware that even government employees are suffering in silence? Are you inspecting them too, or you are concentrating on private institutions only? Karanda?
Okay, yeah, thank you, our callers.
Is your attention more on the private sector? Because someone says even government employees somewhere, somehow, are suffering in silence.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. Our most concentration is on private sector. Because in government, we have other internal mechanisms through which we hope can be used for redress. However, even government workers who get problems at work, we have many cases of which we handle in the ministry of government workers who have been discriminated, who have been terminated unfairly. We also handle them. However, when it comes to inspections, we have not been doing a lot of concentration on these government workers because we feel the government systems are strong enough for redress within, because every government has the disciplinary committees are functional, and then apart from that, even the Ministry of Local Government has an inspectorate department that usually visits these especially the local governments. They have annual assessments. Yeah, for the government, the system is comprehensive. However, that is not enough. We shall also do more to conduct inspections. And the redress systems, like I said, we have even the Public Service Commission. It also handles these complaints. So there are many, the Minister of Public Service, we have the negotiating machinery as our labor union. Negotiating machinery is also existing. So there are so many redress mechanisms in government which we can use, and all of them are strong. That one at least I'm very sure. Then the first caller also complained on how...
If you may allow me to get also this one.
Okay.
UBC.
Yeah, speaking to Bernard from Mukono.
Bernard Mukono, your concern, please.
My concern is, as much as we do blame the human rights, but most of the people, they don't follow important information over the radio. That's why for us now, we can get information once like that. So we do request if there are some numbers which before the officers leave office, they can list by numbers, and you can get the numbers whereby you can speak direct to the office in charge. Thank you.
Most welcome. This is UBC Ground Zero. We are discussing occupational safety and health. UBC.
Hello, UBC.
You're live and clear.
Eddie from Chiwatre.
Yes, Eddie, you're most welcome.
Thank you for the show.
Most welcome, sir.
Now, the lady has said that they are not able to, at least to cover the all institutes. But my option is that all the companies, they are registered within the government. I was thinking that they have all the data of the companies in the government, whereby they can go and inspect those companies abruptly. That is my option, because they cannot. There is no need of saying that they do not have all the numbers of the companies, because the government has got all the companies' names and where they are situated. That was my option.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
A number of people are raising pertinent issues about a workplace. Live and clear, New BC. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Papa.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much today.
Are you happy where you're working from?
Yeah, me myself, I have no problem. I'm happy.
Glory to God.
But on the behalf of other Ugandans who are suffering, who are looking for passport to go and work abroad, the problem is clearly seen. Job provision to everyone, equal opportunity, the problem. And you'll find for the safety of these workers, there is no even first aid box. In case you have you got a first aid box available, open it inside. You'll see there is nothing apart from maybe old bandages there or expired medicine. Now, who is to cater for this? Sometimes you find institutions having all the necessities in the store, which was supposed to be provided last year, and you may push up to 2 years when things are getting even dilapidated in the store. Who is concerned about it? Wearing gears from helmet up to the suit. You'll find some selective actually staffs who are always at the computer in their respective offices. They are the one who are detaining those things under their own view. But the casual workers are being silent, but they are getting injuries on a daily basis. When they are going to hospital, even the boss is demanding for their coming back immediately. If someone had got it. Don't you know that this injury can bring even other sicknesses to someone? So the welfare of workers is supposed to be catered for. This issue of pretending that we are trying our level best, and yet when you go to the field, you will find these people at low level, people who are not well promoted. They are the very one who boost the economy with their efforts. But you see, government have those ones who are always smart in their suits, even who earn more salary. They don't feel these biases at all. So for us, we need equal opportunity, and we need honest, transparent, because this accountability, however much you may cry about this accountability, it will not come and favor us. But how I wish it has brought for us a very good fundamental aspect of sharing your views, and we really thank you so much. And we need our view to be under consideration that workers in Uganda, there are reasons why people are running and forging documents who want to work from abroad. Again, lack of job itself is there. Corruption.
All right.
And embezzlement of the companies. You know, I have so much to emphasize on. Otherwise, time is not my problem.
All right, sir.
Thank you so much, Amon.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone said to Uganda, you be great.
All right. You keep your messages coming through. I think I can read all the messages at once, and you will address the messages and also the concerns from the callers. Someone called, this is Regan Lukawe from Makere. I just want to thank those officials for the awareness created. How is government tackling the issue of delay of payments of salaries? You find an employee working for 3 months without salary. Thank you, Regan. And Masse says, thank you, Dalton, for emphasizing hygiene, because you'll find workers from work direct to bed without even bathing. Oh. And someone also called Brian, listening in from Ginger, says that you inspectors sometimes sideline with the employers. I don't know whether you're given something to be silenced, and when the employees are suffering in your hands. Simon, listening in from Bogorobi, says, why is it difficult to have the minimum wage in Uganda? And also someone says, how come you have not been so available to feed this information? The Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development should always come up to educate, inform the people of Uganda about their rights. And someone also says, you have so much concentrated on employees in the country. How about those Ugandans who are suffering abroad, especially in Dubai and Qatar? All right, keep your messages coming in through. I will keep reading them one by one, and I think let me go back to the studios and to address all the concerns of the people of Uganda. I hope you've been noting down those messages and the concerns from the callers. Let me start with Dalton. I will come to Katsabe and then Isma.
Yes, Amon. I'll begin with the gentleman from Tororo that asked about NSSF remittance. Yes, we've noted that some companies actually deduct NSSF fees from employees and fail to remit to the NSSF. But this partly has been handled. Remember, the NSSF Act was amended, and at least for now, each and every employer, irrespective of the number of employees, you're supposed to remit. In the past, people used to have maybe 20 workers and continue to report very few workers before the authorities. But now, if a workplace exists, even if you have one employee, you're asked to remit. And so now this is going to ease our work, because for any existing workplace, we have got to inspect and look for this evidence of remittance. Then, again, the same individual from Toro mentioned about the reporting lines. We would say that at all districts, we've got our representatives. We call them labor officers. These labor officers are always in the communities amongst these workplaces to actually, they are our representatives in the districts, and they ensure that these legal requirements are actually fulfilled. But in the event that maybe something is not going on well, and labor officers are very far away from you, I know this is what workers will need. We have our number that they can call on, and basing on this, we give the necessary assistance. 0414 234 603. When you call on it, of course, we receive it at the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, and we shall be in position to help. Then there is Eddie from Chiwatule, who mentioned about companies being registered by URSB. Okay, the government has registered them. All companies are registered under the Company Act, and urged us to use the data. Maybe what I would like to inform Eddie is that we are not here only to enforce, but we are also here to provide technical advice and information to the employers and workers. And priority is always given to people that actually turn up for these services. So if you have not registered with us, then that expresses limited interest in our services. So that's why, because my colleagues mentioned about the challenges, very few inspectors, a very big number of companies that we have to. So we shall always prioritize those ones that have registered with us. Though that option would work, but we think that since advice and technical information is more important, we prioritize those that have registered with us.
Interesting. Katsabe?
Thank you so much, Dalton. You have enlightened the people about what we are doing as a department. I just want to add that, yes, the number he has shared is an office line. We are working on getting a hotline, which will be toll-free. But for now, please bear with us. You have to use that one, which may cost you a bit. But I would also like the public to know that we have a management information system called OSHMIS, where if you log in, and I know most people now out there are .com, if you log in, there is an area where you can whistle blow, so hopefully the public can also use that avenue. OSH being OSH, then MIS.MGLSD for Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, .go.ug. Once you log in, there is an area where you can just put in your comment, and it will be received and put into consideration for redress. There was a comment from Mr. Eddie, I think from Chiwatle, who said government should use, that we should use the companies that are registered. Probably, I think he was referring to the database of Uganda Registration Services Bureau to inspect. And I would just like to let you know that we actually, in addition to having planned inspection based on our database, we also have those inspections where we randomly pounce on a workplace, whether they are registered with us or not. If we have had some information probably about the workplace not upholding people's rights, we are able to just go to a workplace, even if it's not registered with us, and we inspect it once we are in the area. So some of those inspections that we have done are to workplaces that we haven't registered as a department. Then the gentleman from Busega who talked about first aid boxes that are empty or with expired drugs. True, this is part of the things that we look out for when we go to workplaces to inspect. And in terms of who is in charge, the employer is expected to employ the right people for the right jobs. So for safety and health, the employer may not be the technical person for it, but we expect you under the law to engage someone who is professional in this area, who will advise that we need a first aid box, and this should be the content. We need to have this policy in place. We need to have these procedures in place. So the employer must engage or employ somebody who is competent and who will advise and who will undertake all the checks, whether the first aid is in place, whether it is adequate and all that. The same person would also be in charge of those provisions which are in store but not given out to the workers, because this person would have done a risk assessment. They know the hazards in the workplace and they know what the workers need. So they would advise the employer on what to give out to the workers instead of having the things stored in the stores. About the injured workers not being given time off to recover, this is it's not right. So employers, again, we take this opportunity to sensitize and make them aware of the fact that once a worker is maimed or injured in the course of doing their work, they must be given a chance to recover. And the treatment also should be at the cost of the employer if the worker has been injured in the course of doing the work. So the worker should not be catering for their hospital bills if they were injured while working. As a matter of fact, I must clarify that all occupational safety and health measures must be at the cost of the employer. The worker should never bear a cost for their own safety in terms of whether it is boots or a helmet or treating yourself when you have cut yourself while working. All that cost is supposed to be borne by your employer. Then the gentleman from Ginger who said that employers side with the inspectors side with the employers.
And that sometimes you're given something and
kitu kidogo.
You go in silence and people of Uganda suffer.
I would like to think and hope that most of us, the inspectors, have integrity. I know I cannot deny the fact that maybe there are some elements who have compromised here and there, but broadly speaking, as inspectors, we are people of integrity, and many times we do our job without siding ourselves with the employer. It's just that maybe they see us talking to the employer because we know we have to get them to understand these things.
And they see you smiling with the bosses when you have just had someone just died yesterday.
You know, but yeah, so it may be an issue of perception, although I cannot deny the fact that some people may be doing it. But yeah, we are doing our best to protect the employees out there.
All right. Kalanda?
Yeah, actually, most of the issues have been talked about, answered. However, there are key issues that I need to re-emphasize is that, first of all, the workers they should also seek information in order that they can support us to close this information gap. We always encourage them to be aware of the laws and the policies that govern their employment and how they can be able to demand for their rights. And like I told you, we are coming up with a guide or an information pack of which we shall issue out to the investors to get to know their rights and be able to demand for them. Then there are issues, like I said, of the minimum wage. The minimum wage bill is still in process, so we can hardly enforce some of these issues, and they are the most painful and the most urgent. Especially, you find these workers being paid very low wages. And normally when we sit and you see us talking to these employers, some of the issues need negotiation, where you have to talk to the employer, you encourage him to do this and that. Some of them don't have the knowledge on these laws, and like my colleague said, some of these inspections we do, we disseminate knowledge, or we build the capacity of these employers to enforce some of these laws. And some other issues like the delayed salaries. Yeah, we know that it is compulsory. The reason why someone gets to work is because he has to be paid. It is the key reason why we go for work. And these are complaints that we are supposed to receive, that we are supposed also to receive in our offices. We at the moment we have labor officers almost in every district and municipality. We have over 150 labor officers in the local governments, and our assumption is that any worker who gets a challenge at work or any complaints are filed with the labor officers. And even in cases where these labor officers do not come out well to handle these cases, many of them are referred to the ministry. They are either referred to the ministry or referred to the industrial court. And they have given us our contacts. You can refer some of them. You feel you are aggrieved and something has not been really worked on. We have the redress mechanisms in the ministry. For example, we have the medical arbitration board. Those workers who have got occupational accidents and the doctor assesses you at a very low rate, where you think for you qualify for bigger compensation and they are giving you very little compensation. We have the medical arbitration board in the ministry. You can request the labor officer to refer you to the medical arbitration board in the ministry that reassesses you and they can give you a fair compensation. Yeah, other issues we have, especially the workers abroad. the workers abroad, actually, we are doing a lot of things.
I was going to ask you that.
We are
Someone raised it seriously.
We are doing a lot of things in
Do you
order.
go there and inspect those companies that are employing Ugandans?
Yeah, of course. It is a requirement that before the company is registered, we inspect it and ensure that it is a really vigorous exercise.
Are you sure you go to United Arab Emirates and supervise those companies?
No, of course, for us, we don't register companies in United Arab Emirates.
Inspecting.
The companies in the United Arab Emirates are registered by the government of Saudi Arabia. And it is the mandate of the government of Saudi Arabia to inspect those companies. And for us, we rely on the reports from government. You know when.
So how do you help Ugandans who are suffering there?
You know, when you are dealing with a foreign country, the processes are a bit complicated. As the Minister of Gender, we do not have a mandate to go to Saudi Arabia and inspect companies and do whatever we want. Whatever we do, first of all, we go through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and even the Minister of Foreign Affairs goes through their embassy. And even when you are undertaking any activities in Saudi Arabia, you are supposed to be guided by the law of Saudi Arabia, not the law of Uganda.
But the companies that take these Ugandans are supposed to be registered by you, the ministry, and most of the complaints that Ugandans have raised emanate from these companies which are based in Uganda.
Yeah, what we do, us here in the country, we do a lot for these companies. First of all, I hope you are aware that in 2021 these regulations, the employment, recruitment of Ugandan migrant workers regulations were revised, and they are so comprehensive. And I would request anyone who has a stake in this business or in anything to go and read these regulations, because they are comprehensive. They put up systems, they put up ways in order to ensure that everything is put correct. Then another thing is that the whole system has also been digitalized.
Okay.
Yeah, this has really helped us to maybe limit on these forgeries and other issues. If we have time, this is also another big topic. If
Interesting.
To go through it.
Today, 1st April 2023. In the same month, we always have the commemoration of the World Day for Safety and Health. Are we having it this year, or what is the ministry preparing for this year? Are we having this day?
So maybe Eva can expound on this.
Eva, have you heard of the same day? What is the ministry doing? Maybe you can give us the background of the day.
Yes, the World Day for Safety and Health, it is a day that has been commemorated for many years. It was first commemorated way back in 2003, although I know some people out there may be hearing it for the first time. We usually commemorate it on 28th of April every year. Uganda first commemorated it in 2004, although internationally it was 2003 when it was first commemorated. So every year we have different themes. We focus on the workers, their safety and all. So this year in particular, we have a theme which is to do with what we've just been discussing, a safe and healthy working environment as a fundamental principle and right at work. Maybe just to clarify a bit more on this theme, you know, the International Labour Organization guides action in terms of health and safety of workers and their rights internationally. So just last year in June 2022, the International Labour Conference agreed that health and safety should be added to the other 4 fundamental rights that workers have at the workplace. So health and safety became the 5th fundamental right, meaning that there is no employer who can deny this. It is something that they must put in place. You can't say, I'm in informal sector, I have no funds, I don't have this. Every employer is required to put in place these measures. So that is why we chose that theme, and it's the international theme for that day. We hope to celebrate it or commemorate it from Jinja, And there are a number of activities that are going to lead up to the day and also on the actual day itself. But I would like maybe my colleague, Mr. Dalton, to be the one to expound on the activities leading to the day and on the actual day.
Dalton?
Yes, thank you, Amon. Amongst the activities that we intend to lead us while commemorating that day, we have organized poster presentations from various workplaces. Those that have tried to do something to ensure that workers or their workers are in safe and healthy working conditions, they will be presenting before others how they have been able to achieve this and sharing, so for others to learn. We asked many those companies to submit abstracts, and as I speak now, we have closed and we have already listed out those that will be in position to present. Then on that same day, we intend to have what we call Occupational Safety and Health Awards. Here we are going to be recognizing the best performing, again, workplaces, those that have gone ahead more than others in implementing or fulfilling their obligations. Then on that very same day, we expect to have a marathon. You're very much aware nowadays we use these marathons to disseminate information, to interact, to socialize, and actually to when through these marathons, we shall have very many workplaces, very many workers come together, exercise, interact, and socialize. Then we also expect to have very many partners on this day join us. My colleague mentioned those of the Federation of Uganda Employers. We have the COFTA NOTU and other international organizations, international partners will be joining us, with very, very many other local or Ugandan partners. They will be joining us, and we hope it will be a good time for people to deliberate on issues concerning occupational safety and health.
Interesting. On the event, have you considered having a platform or a tent perhaps put for those who have been stressed? Because last time the minister says that about 18% of Ugandans have occurred different issues and stress was bad. Have you considered counseling? Do you have that counseling department in the ministry to bring people back to their senses, especially those who have had concerns at workplaces?
Yes. At the department, we have we have got a health unit, comprised of very well trained medical doctors, a team, and this will be fully in place on that day. We actually have a first aid subcommittee that is handling all these. So together with the health facilities, the Jinja Hospital, health facilities in Jinja, they will be in presence that day to handle all health-related issues.
Esma, considering what Ugandans are going through today, is there a need really to commemorate or celebrate this day?
Actually, we are not talking of celebrating. We are talking of commemorating. And commemorating is necessary. Yeah, because this is when you maybe you have time to discuss pertinent issues. This is time you have to reawaken the spirit of the workers in order, and even the employers, in order to come up with these safety measures. Yeah, the processes and the activities of the day are mainly aimed at strengthening these systems further, disseminating knowledge, bringing these people together to share information, to share ideas, and really see how we can improve these areas. So yeah, the days, the commemorations are necessary. Yeah, because they'll give you a platform to discuss these issues, to interact with the people from the ministry, and they really forge a better way forward. So I can say they are really necessary.
Katsabe, you said since 2004, Uganda has been commemorating this day. But what is so special that we really need to celebrate this year? What is different that we have not heard from 2004? Or it is going to be the same story? We go there to the venue, have speeches, and then pack our bags and go home.
Well, I do not think that it's going to be the same story over and over again. We have done it since 2004, but it's always under different themes. And each year we focus on something very specific. And through the years, we have noted a slight improvement. It may not be huge, but there's a slight improvement. So I wouldn't say that we should just sit back because we do it every year. But let's take time, like Mr. Kalanda said, to come together and reflect once again on what it is that we want to see done in terms of health and safety. But also we have stepped up our game slightly this year in the sense that we have put in place certain other activities that we've not done before, which we hope will bring more thought to the table and more activities engaging the employers themselves and the workplaces. For example, the awards, it is the first time that we are doing it since we started these commemorations. So we are hoping that we will more actively engage these workplaces, because those who are going to participate in the awards were told to express interest, and we are doing thorough checks on them to see who indeed is worthy of winning the awards. So this is something that we are doing different, and hopefully it will leave a lasting impression and will only go better and better in the coming years. But also we think that through things like the poster presentation, the workplaces are getting a chance to reflect and see what they are doing, what they want to showcase. So again, it should be able to set the stage for better things to come in the future.
All right. Dalton, someone would say, why of all places you have chosen Jinja this time?
Yes. You know, for the last 19 years, since 2004, like Engineer Eva said, these events, or the event has been commemorated in Kampala. And we are opting to actually try to get out of Kampala and reach other regions of Uganda, because workers are not only in Kampala but also in other regions. Now, why Jinja? Jinja is an old industrial city, and as of now, you're very much aware that there are very many industries that exist in Jinja. So, actually, not only Jinja but Busoga region, that eastern region. So we chose Jinja. We expect there are very many workplaces, there are very many workers, and we hope that if we carry on this message to them, it will actually reach to the very, very right people that will see their working conditions, their standards change and improved.
Interesting. Garanda, who I invited members to this very important commemoration. Are you not going to be overwhelmed by the numbers and you see all Ugandans coming to Jinja?
Yeah, of course, these are public functions, they are public gatherings. It's very hard to limit the number of people attending the functions. The most important part of it is, as the ministry, to be well organized, to organize the venue very well, organize our activities very well. And we have the key stakeholders already organized and invited. We have the labor officers, the workers. You know, the workers, we mainly work with them through their labor unions. The two labor centers are all informed. We have the employers through the Federation of Uganda Employers, and we have the companies, the various companies that are key, especially those that are going to exhibit what they can showcase to the public, what they have. Those ones who have very good policies, those ones who have worked well. We have the award ceremony for the best employers who have been compliant to occupational safety and health will be awarded. Yeah, the whole public will be invited, and we hope we can really accommodate the people who will be attending the function.
Interesting. Engineer, if someone is saying at what time is it starting and Ginger is big, where exactly are you going?
Usually we start by 10 o'clock. The program for the day is yet to be finalized. It is still work in progress. And the talks are ongoing with Ginger City. Okay. But as of now, the engagements we've had so far, although communication will be given eventually, so far we are thinking that it will be at the Busoga grounds on the 28th of April. But this is not cast in stone. We are still holding discussions. If we find a better venue which can accommodate more people, we shall certainly communicate it to the public. But for now, based on the engagements that we've had so far, it is Busoga grounds.
Interesting. What are your expectations?
For the day?
Yes.
A good turn-up to start with.
Mm.
And then we are hoping that the companies that will be able to showcase their whatever they have done will speak to, because usually peer education is better. So we are hoping that those who will be in attendance will be able to learn from those who will showcase what they have done and those who will be receiving awards. So going forward, we are believing that the health and safety culture will improve for both the employers and the employees themselves.
Interesting. This is UBC. We're coming to close of our discussion today. And allow me take a very short break. And when we come, we're going to have our concluding comments and then our way forward as we end the program. This is UBC.
Tune in to Ground Zero on UBC Radio. We discuss politics.
The money we collect as taxes in the country, we lose it in corruption.
Economics.
The four economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT.
Education.
The classes which will not need an abridged curriculum are the entry-level classes of P1, Senior 1, and Senior 5.
Culture and religion. And other areas of human interest. Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio. Don't miss.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health. Entertainment. Updates in education. On the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
This is Ground Zero live on UBC Radio. Stay tuned.
UBC Ground Zero live on UBC, 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda, border to border, city to city. We are on UBC Butembo covering eastern parts of this country. We are on Western Nile FM covering Western Nile sub-region, Lango and the Chole sub-regions, Karamoja sub-region, and Teso sub-region. We also live and clear on UBC Radio, UBC Red, covering entire Uganda, and also live and clear on Magic 100 FM, covering central parts of this country. This is UBC Ground Zero. Paide Amon Mutega is my name, and I have a special team coming from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. We're coming to close to our program, but some people are still calling. I'm getting 2 or 3 callers, and we'll then wrap up this program. UBC?
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
You are speaking to Moses from Mukono.
Moses, your concern, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
Yes, please.
I want to get registered with them.
You want?
Registration. I want to know about the registration and the number which you gave us to call in case of maybe some advices.
All right. UBC? All right. Our time is not really on our side. Let me go back to the studios. Let me request your comments on the side of employers, on the side of employees, and what the government should do to help the both parties to make sure that they're in good terms. But also your comment on someone who is willing to start a business. What are some of the standard procedures that they should put into concerns? Because I saw someone some time back who turned his house into a factory. Sitting room is the reception, one bedroom is the production area, and the same and the sort. You have not considered the environment, the ventilators that Dalton was mentioning. What is your concern? What is your advice to someone who is starting business? Let me start with you, Dalton. You advise someone who is starting a business. What should be the operating standard procedures that they should put into consideration?
Okay, Amon, in Uganda here, these businesses are at various scales, small, medium, and large. But we would advise individuals that intend to start such businesses. You gave a very good example of a factory, to conduct a thorough environmental impact assessment. When you conduct, while conducting the environmental impact assessment, you have an opportunity to interact with, to conduct consultations with responsible stakeholders, and amongst them are the technical people from the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. You have the locals in the locality that you consider to establish that business. You have the National Environmental Management Authority. All these technical people will be available to advise, such that you do not actually to minimize on the risks and hazards that would surface if you had started without engaging them.
Interesting. Kalanda, your message or comment or advice that you will give to the employers?
Yeah, first of all, to the employers, the best advice I will give them is always follow and be aware of our employment laws, so the regulations and the policies, and enforce them or put them in practice. They should also closely work with the government, the labor officers, the labor unions, and the FUE, always regularly for guidance. And we ensure that everything is in place. They have the policies in place and they follow them, such that they don't get caught up with the law.
Interesting. Evelyn, your general comment or advice to the employees who are beaten by the employers, who are sexually harassed by the employers, who have not been given the equipments necessary for their work. what should they do? They work without even putting something in their stomach. They work under harsh conditions. The contract says you're supposed to be working for 8 hours, but this someone is working for 18 hours. What is your advice for them?
My advice to the employees, the workers, is that now that you know what your rights are, hopefully you having heard what we have said today, engage either the labor office within your district, report to maybe somebody whom you know will be able to assist you within your locality. You could report through the workplace structure if the structure is there, but if there is no structure, try to reach out to the labor office or call the number that we shared, or log on to the website of the OSHMIS and then lodge the complaint therein, so that we can follow it up and try to give you the assistance that you need so that your rights are met. But most importantly, if you see your life, your health is endangered, step away from it, because Uganda needs you alive. If you stay there persisting because there are no jobs, you end up losing your life or being maimed permanently, and so it is a loss to both yourself and the nation. So step yourself away from danger and try to seek the assistance that you can within your either the structures and at the workplace or within the district. I think briefly that's what I can advise the employees out there.
All right. I will also take the advantage and this opportunity to advise you, the government, to take the concerns of the people of Uganda so serious that you should not sit in the office when the people of Uganda are suffering outside there. Take it to a point and a serious concern to go and inspect and see the conditions that the people of Uganda go through, because you are there at their service, and they will be excited and happy if they see you working for them and not working and sidelining with the employers. We're coming to the end of this program, and I must thank you, the callers, and all the people who sent you messages and be part of the conversation, those who are online and those who have been listening on radio. Allow me now take your way forward, call people to the event, or any message you would love to communicate to the people of Uganda as we end up our program. Dalton?
Yes, thank you, Amon. As I conclude, I would like to... We have observed that people lack information regarding actually what we are trying to explain here before them. But as the world runs digital, we've also gone digital and established and developed an occupational safety and health management information system. So we call it OSHMIS in summary. And we urge people to access it, go to it, and you'll find the information. You'll find information regarding workplace registration, statutory plant examinations, building plan approvals, the chemical safety and security related information, and procedures, how we can help you. This is where you'll find our contacts, our email addresses, such that we are in position to get back to you.
All right. Kalanda?
Yeah, I also encourage people to attend the function in big numbers. And apart from that, on 28th after the OSH Day, we also have the International Labour Day on 1st May, which will be held in Namutumba. And we are also, preparations are also in Haija, and we are also going to also come up with various messages that we are going to give people when time comes.
All right. Someone, Moses, requested for the number again, and
okay.
All right. As you give your general comment and way forward, Engineer Evelyn.
Okay, thank you very much. The number to call, which will take you direct to the department in charge of safety and health, is 0414 234603. 0414 234603. That is the Department for the Occupational Safety and Health.
All right.
My parting shots would be that just a kind reminder that occupational safety and health, despite all that we have said, the commemoration is just one day, but this is a lifestyle that I would like to call us all to lead. Occupational Safety and Health Day is a responsibility. Occupational safety and health in general is a responsibility for everyone, and it takes time to build this culture. So I'm requesting and calling upon the public to all participate in building this culture. As a nation, we will go very far, because health and safety will make legal sense because you'll be compliant. It makes moral sense because you do not kill anyone in the process, you don't get anyone harmed, but it also makes economic sense. Like I said, it is an investment. So it is in the interest of all of us to uphold health and safety. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, and I must thank you for sparing time to come and educate, inform, and transform the people of Uganda, but most especially inspiring them about safety and occupational safety and health. We're coming to close of this discussion. I must thank you for being part of the program from the time we started this broadcast, and for those who have spent time to send in the messages, and also those who called in this very program and raised your concerns, and I believe that they are going to be addressed, since we had people who are dealing with the same from the ministry. According to Honorable Mtuzo, said the 18% of deaths that occur in the country as by a result of poor occupational safety and health conditions at workplaces. That was compared to 2016 data from the Mandi Index, shows that 10.2 deaths occur per 1,000 people in Uganda on average. Common occupational diseases include musculoskeletal disorders, diseases, mental illness like stress, cancers, skin diseases, and many others. I assure that all of us ensure that our hygiene at workplaces. Someone sent a message that others don't bathe from work. I pray that you do take it a serious concern to bathe, especially when you're coming from construction site, because it is your health first before anyone else. If you don't work on your health, there's no employer who is going to come and tell you how best you can treat yourself. And in case you feel some illness, I pray that you don't force yourself to go to work, but to go to a health center that is around you and seek that medical treatment or medical advice. And they told you from this conversation that we just had that in case you have injuries sustained from your work, make sure that you get treatment and the bills should be paid by your bosses. And in case you're not comfortable how best you have been treated or compensated, you can contact labor officer in your region, and it will link you direct to the ministry, and you'll be helped. I've been having Engineer Ephraim Katsabe is the Principal Specialized Safety Inspector from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And also I had Ismail Kalanda is the Principal Labor Officer from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, and also Bachisula Dalton, occupational hygienist or chemist from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. The people of Jinja, I know you're listening in from this very radio and your own radio station, Butebo. The day is 28th April, and we're going to be in Jinja, all celebrating and commemorating this day together. 28th is the date. Do not be deceived, or you shouldn't forget that day. Until next time, same program, different topic, same radio stations, and with me, Ampaire Amon Obtega, for God and my country, allow me now to sign out.
Tune in to Ground Zero on UBC Radio. We discuss politics.
The money we collect as taxes in the country, we lose it in corruption.
Economics.
The 4 economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT.
education.
The classes which will not need an abridged curriculum are the entry-level classes of P1, Senior 1 and Senior 5.
Culture and religion. And other areas of human interest. Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio. On UBC Radio. On UBC Radio.